Welcome to my podcast, A Wise Man Once Said. I'm Daniel Hanna. I am here with Anthony Palomba, who is a Andean Hucha Shaman. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about your own life journey, how you got involved with this healing modality, and what sort of led you down this shamanic route.
I'm a shamanic healer of the Andean tradition, and so kind of what brought me to work with this tradition was basically my journey of healing. Mm-hmm. I dealt with a lot of depression in my 20s and early 30s, and it was a tough experience, and really a lot of suffering was part of that. And so that kind of culminated into this experience where I went into a very deep, dark place. And so I knew that I needed to do something about that, right? Because I felt like that was going to probably take me if I didn't. And so that began the process of really committing to my healing. And so I explored a lot of different modalities of healing, Western therapy, Asian therapies, modalities, past life regression. I tried it all. And each time you make an intention to heal, right, I believe you open the door for the possibility of your healing. You create a doorway for there to exist a reality where you are not suffering. And so everything helps, I believe, even though like some of those modalities maybe didn't resonate with me. I felt like everything was kind of helping me get there, but it wasn't until I found shamanic healing that really the light was turned on.
Sort of opened the gates for you, and
that started out with so my mother's from Peru, and that's kind of my connection to this tradition. But I hadn't really explored that until I started working with at first plant medicine. So working with Shipibo shamans. And that's when up to that point I'd done a lot of that kind of Western kind of psychoanalytic kind of healing, and but again the ayahuasca experience is healing on such a profound level. It's like wholesale.
Absolutely.
Healing. And so and that just healed huge swaths of my psyche. And then, of course, as you're doing that, you're learning about this reality and how it works. And so, I also feel that ayahuasca and the other plants, it's not just ayahuasca, it's other plants as well. They're all helping you to not just heal, but understand what your purpose here is and what you're here to create.
They are master plants. And that's what I find interesting about ayahuasca and different plant medicines as well. Is just so much information that you can access in a way, and it does definitely seem to have some sort of consciousness or sentience that you are connecting to, or you're connecting to at least a deeper level, like of your own existence. And talking about like the more you go into it, like the more you start learning about it, it does seem like a rabbit hole with the healing journey and with learning these different modalities and spirituality as a whole. As the more you start diving into it, the way I sort of see it is the more your mind starts opening to different possibilities, but the more the amount of possibilities also expands. So it's like you're trying to understand more, but at the same time, you're just learning so much more, but realizing there's so much more out there that it's really hard to just get a grasp on what spirituality is, and the deeper you go down that pursuit, the more interesting and more wonderful, but also more confusing it is at the same time.
And for me, the interesting part was once I reached that place of the plant medicine really clearing out a lot of the wounding and trauma. It showed me my connection to the Andean tradition, and the way I viewed that, or was shown to me, was the lineage of teachers that I was a part of. And so for those that don't know, the Andean tradition is the expression of shamanic healing that they practice in the mountains of Peru. Well, it's actually Peru, Ecuador, Bolivia, Colombia, and Chile, right? So anywhere the Andes mountain range is, you have the presence of this energetic, cosmology. It's called the Andean cosmovision. And so the plant medicine showed me my connection to this, and then that's when I started working with those shamans. They're called Pacos, actually, in Peru. A Paco is an Andean shaman. They're actually more like mystics and priests. That's kind of the role they serve in their community. And so I started working with them, and as a healing modality. But then, that's when I started to study it myself. Studied it here in the States, but then also I have teachers in Peru now that I go to study with. And so it's been an amazing journey of healing for me. And so what's interesting is in the Andean tradition, they don't use plants. It's predominantly, it's a energetic practice. So it's energy medicine. So they basically use the Andean cosmovision is, I guess the best way to describe this is it's a framework for managing different qualities of energy, and to be able to perceive energy, and to be able to manipulate it through intention. So you are an energetic ecosystem and environment, and so any of the energies that we have in our ecosystem that are associated with trauma, suffering, these are in the Andean tradition are called hucha. And so it's this very dense, heavy energy that can become frozen in our energetic bodies, mental, emotional, physical. And so that's the main intention of the Andean tradition, is to remove this hucha so that you can allow the flow of energy, of good energy, which is called sami, to then start flowing again. And this is what restores optimal well-being, in your energetic state.
Would you describe the hucha as some sort of block or something? So in your energetic body, it's sort of like a block or something like stagnated, and it's sort of like clearing that away to allow like the energy to flow. And of course, that ends up like you start manifesting more, and things start you're getting into that flow state of existence where everything starts coming together more.
Absolutely. Not only, so yes, this hucha does create blockages. And, in the Andean tradition, we don't have chakras. We have what are called nyawis, which are eyes of perception. So you have different eyes of perception that allow you to perceive this energy at different, qualities. And so these eyes of perception allow you to see the hucha and remove it. And so this hucha can exist at the mental or emotional or physical level, even at the spiritual level too. But once the work is done to remove this, this flow starts. And what I find really fascinating is this state of being where we're in flow. I feel it really speaks to this kind of, what is my existence in this reality, in the state where I'm in the most aligned state. I would even say, like, what is my place in this divine order? Because I feel like what ayahuasca is doing when it's taking you out into that hyperdimensional space, and it's showing you, like, oh my God, there's this kind of divine order that I had no awareness of. And so the Andean tradition also is doing this. It's helping you kind of restore this divine order, but it's very embodied. So you're feeling it in your body, removing these heavy energies from your body or different expressions of your being. And so that's why I feel it's very effective. They're both very effective, I think, the Amazonian, the Andean traditions, but they're kind of giving you different views of this same idea of, like, what is the divine order of things? How do I fit into this divine order, and in such a way that I am living the most, like, aligned way, most optimal way?
That's definitely very interesting. And there's a lot of things I want to touch on with that, but first of all, how would you compare, just say, the Amazonian tradition, so using ayahuasca, using plant medicines, compared to the Andean tradition, such as using, hucha, sort of removing, you said removing hucha,
yeah.
and these sort of different modalities. How would you, because it's interesting that you said that it was through plant medicines that actually led you to go down this path, correct?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely interesting how like the plants seem to speak to us and give us this information. So I'm just curious about your perspective on that, about these different modalities and how they sort of connect.
Sure. Yeah, that's fascinating. So one of the things that I feel plant medicine does, the plant consciousness doesn't exist in time.
Yeah.
I believe that plant consciousness exists
it's a whole
outside
different thing,
of time, right? Plants have been have been here long before us, like, millions of years before us. So like, I think their existence is they're not having this same experience of Pachamama, Mother Earth, the way we are. I think there's some kind of perception of time that we're bound by. And so the plants help us because they're really taking us out of this time framework, and we're experiencing this timeless space. So to me, that's what was so profound, is it's not only this timeless space was showing me the information of what I truly am. I'm created from love, right? I'm loved unconditionally. And I'm loved unconditionally because I'm created from love, and it can never be taken away.
Yeah.
It's my birthright. And so that alone was the most healing lesson I ever had. But it also showed me a lot of information out there in that realm. And so, I feel like, that is, so there's that, right? And then there's the Andean tradition, which is, so part of this is I think the plant medicine experience is decoupling my awareness from my perception, my embodiment, and my awareness then goes to this larger consciousness place. And there's even hard. It's even hard to find words for some of this stuff, right? But and so it can be a very out of body experience, right? And so what's great about the Andean tradition is it's very embodied, right? So instead of your perception going out there, it's working on refining your embodiment by removing the hucha, and then by removing the hucha, it's like tuning your energetic system so it's able to rise higher and higher and higher.
Yeah.
So the difference to me as well is that, like, I feel plant medicine is kind of like taking a sledgehammer to your problems, which you can't necessarily control. Because I feel like surrender is a huge piece of the plant medicine experience.
With ayahuasca, you need to surrender, otherwise you're up for
absolutely, yeah. But the Andean tradition is like, instead of a sledgehammer, it's more like a scalpel. So you can really be precise about what you want to address and remove from your energetic embodiment. So,
yeah, that's definitely interesting. And I like that analogy as well. So ayahuasca or plant medicines in general, it's more of a sledgehammer approach. You're thrown out there and really you don't know what's happening. You just need to surrender to it. You need to stop resisting it. And you start getting all this information, and you can work with that. The Andean traditions, it's more of a grounded approach, it seems. So it's more, just chipping away at the energy, removing the hucha.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to hear a bit about that process. So how do you actually do it, or what do you see? Like, can you lead us through sort of what people experience when they're having hucha removed, and sort of the process of doing it?
So again, the thing that allows me to see the hucha is the Andean cosmovision. It's hard to describe this, but it's this energetic awareness. It's like a framework of awareness that allows you to interact, perceive the energy, both the good energy sami and this heavy energy hucha, right? And then through my intention, be able to interact with it. So to be able to move this energy, for example, move it from point A to point B, right?
Yeah.
So this is what the Andean Cosmovision allows you to do. And so one of the most important parts of this is in the Andean Cosmovision, you have this concept called Aini, and Aini means energetic reciprocity. So when we live our lives in this energetic balance, meaning, when I take something, I give something in return, or I'm not always taking or always giving, because if you overgive, this can also be an imbalance.
Absolutely. I feel like it needs to be some sort of energy exchange. That's how you do create that balance, by give in, take in, because either side of that equation, if you give too much, then sort of go into this state where, like, first people take advantage of that, and no way, not just people, but I feel like energetically sort of works not in your favor when you're constantly giving, but then constantly receiving as well. If you're not providing back, it does sort of mess up that balance.
Absolutely. And so this is super important in the Andean tradition, because when you maintain this state, so this state of Aini, which is, again, energetic reciprocity, I actually define as energetic grace, because it allows my intention to cross over this boundary into the space of energy, and I'm able to manipulate the energy. And specifically, I mean, when a client is lying down, I can, one, perceive the hucha in their body. So for example, it could be a big mass of hucha, and to me it appears as just a big mass of, like, dense tar-like, it has this feeling of being, this dense tar-like mass, right? And so there's ways to break that up. I can, chant. Again, chanting is a transmission through sound of consciousness, right? And then rattling, we'll oftentimes break that up, and then move it through, right? And then the client and I we're breathing together. Different breathing techniques help move that too. But sometimes, if it's really tough stuff, the Indian tradition has a huge a pantheon of different beings. Again, in the Andean tradition, the mountains are sacred mountains that you can call upon.
Different spirits and
they're like kind of archangels of nature, and you can call their energy in to help remove these kind of, they can be very dense or very tough things to remove. And so, and all sorts of other beings of consciousness, the condor, the jaguar, the snake, these are all energetic archetypes of consciousness that exist also in the Amazonian traditions too, that help break up this hucha and remove it. And when I say remove it, I mean from your body, from your heart, from your mind, and even from ancestral lineages too. So
so with the hucha, so you said you perceive this through in the tradition there's different points in your body, right? So almost like you said, as
these
not
eyes of
chakras.
perception, called nyawis. These help perceive the qualities of energy.
Okay, so how would you describe that? Would you say it's sort of feeling the energy? Is it a way to feel it, or do you physically see it? Do you see the hucha, the black sort of tar stuff in people? Or?
Yeah, it's a felt perception in the body.
Yeah.
So the way I can only describe it is, if my body were an antenna and it's picking up the energetic information, it's like my whole body is creating an image.
Okay.
And so I don't necessarily see visuals. It's a felt perception of an image. And so I can feel through my body where the hucha is in their body, or perhaps sometimes too, clients come and, for example, they're trying to clear, a past relationship, right? And so there can be connections to this person or passed on loved one, and those appear as cords that are connecting them to this person. So part of sometimes what I need to do is to cut this cord.
You can cut these cords?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
And sometimes these can be cords that are anchoring somebody into a past life experience of suffering. And so they may be feeling that suffering in this life. Or it can be even ancestral stuff. So the intention of cutting the cord, it's an intention, right? Like my physical action is like I'm grabbing it and I'm like I have a knife that I use. It's a ceremonial knife, and I'm cutting it. What I'm really doing is creating the intention, right? And it's my intention that's again crossing over this boundary of the physical reality through Aini, which is my state of balanced reciprocity and energetic grace, and I'm able to. My intention then is able to act on that the situation at hand and really cut and remove this connection. And so, so I view it as I'm in a constant relationship with the Andean cosmovision, which is also a reminder to me of my constant connection to this world, right? This
something that's so much more grand than we are.
And in the Andean tradition, this world is called Pachamama. Pacha actually means mother. Well, I translated it as Pachamama is mother space-time. Yeah. It's this whole space-time experience. All of nature is Pachamama. And so like, that's what I love about the Andean traditions. It's this constant relationship with this reality as an expression of living energy.
What advice or suggestions would you have for people who are sort of breaking into this and starting to look at different ways for us to heal ourselves and how we can do that through different sort of bodies of knowledge?
Yeah, I feel that we in the West suffer a lot, and a lot of this comes from the egoic projections that we've created of the mind, and honestly a society that is creates structures that cause us to suffer, right? And so a lot of what we're talking about is really going back to these paradigms, spiritual paradigms, where we were much more connected to the earth. Yeah. And not just that, like really living in relationship. So these shamanic traditions really are a reconnecting to that innate knowledge that was really the origins of the shamanic culture, shamanic traditions. And so I believe we all have this connection. Yeah. Through our ancestry, we are somehow, whatever origin your ancestry is, whatever mine is, there are roots there. Yeah. And so this is what I really find is powerful, is it's asking people, to explore that, right? And obviously the power of plant medicine is super powerful. And if you step on that path, get ready, because you're going to be going fast. Your healing is going to be really accelerated. And so, working with people that really know their stuff, trained in traditional environments, I think this is crucial, as opposed to, I'm sorry to say this, but
on YouTube and
I'm sorry to say this, people that, just maybe have a session or ceremony too, and they start doing it themselves without like doing the real training. And it's very important to have that kind of container that's created by the tradition, which is not something you can just invent. Right?
Yeah, and you don't want to take lightly as well, because they are pretty like dense and heavy energies that you're working with, especially like these spirits and different things. You don't want to not know you want to be in a place where at least like there's a trained shaman or there's someone that has been well versed in this sort of things, because you are dealing with all these different spirits. And I can imagine you're doing these sort of things alone, or you're very inexperienced, and you're not going to know what to do when like maybe something happens, or there's some negative energies in the air, or like you're not going to know to the same level that sort of these shamans know that have done it for a long time.
In the Andean tradition is the same. Through a teacher. I would say the Andean tradition is, the one big difference is the Andean tradition is mystical tradition. So Pacos are mystics and priests. And the really amazing part of the Andean tradition is it's creating a bridge from the shamanic world to the mystical world. So in the shamanic world, you are going into the darkness. You're surrendering, surrender all the way down. It's like diving deep into the darkness. And so I think eventually what happens is you come out the top into the realm of light. That's one path. And the mystical path is, can you just open your mystical eyes and see the realm of light? So these are two actually different paths or different ways to get to the light. And the Andean tradition is like a bridge that connects both. And so to have a teacher, is a really good thing. And to go to Peru, because there's something about the place.
That's it. Go to the motherland.
Magical. It is so magical. It almost like radiates this quality of sacred energy, and I'm not just saying that because I love it so much. I've been many times. There's only there's some relationship there that is teaching you as well. And I feel there's very similar in the Amazon. It's the plants. It's the whole life force of the planet.
And you feel that as well. You just feel the entire ecosystem and everything's alive. And I think that's the big reason why there is so much depression and anxiety and mental illness in this day and age, because we have become very disconnected from our sort of heritage and our roots. That sort of all these people, all these cultures, all these tribes and groups have they had this down. They knew what they were doing. They knew how to have this connection. And I don't know, was there mental illness back just say thousands of years ago before modern society? I'm not sure, but
I don't think there was.
I don't think there was either, because because they were connected to the roots. They're connected to nature, and I think that simplicity is a big part of it as well. It's not always just looking for things, for distractions, for materialism, for a bigger house or a nicer car and things like that.
I believe that somewhere along this separation happened, where we were separated from our relationship to Pachamama, right? And then I don't know where that was. The Dark Ages. I don't know what happened that was, but it was. We became disconnected from this source of knowing, right? And not just the source of knowing. I would say our perception of our oneness with all of this of experience. And so, and I feel like this separation is where the mind starts to come in and go, somebody's got to take control here. Somebody's got to start figuring this out. And this is the where we step into this duality. And I've thought about this a lot. Where did this happen? That it even happened in West. So I'm a big fan of Terence McKenna, and he speaks a lot about the Logos, which was this informing voice that taught you how to live your life, how you should live your life. And this existed in the Greek times. So the Greeks had this perception too. So it wasn't just that only these shamanic traditions, but also in the Greek tradition, the Logos. But then at some point, the Logos stopped speaking. And so this fascinates me. It wasn't, and at that time there wasn't a whole lot of travel. So a lot of these indigenous cultures were still kind of isolated, but somehow, this happened, and we became separated from this awareness, and the mind kind of stepped in to try to figure out how do we survive, So, and here we are, The mind has done a really amazing job at certain things,
But
but
the same problems still persist, it seems.
but there's things that, because of, I feel, our disconnection have gotten worse, in the sense of our health and our well-being in general. Like,
Yeah.
I think people who live, for example, in these cultures in South Latin America, I think their lives are simpler, and I think they're, for the most part, happier.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, like, thank you very much. That's great insight and interesting to hear about it. If people want to reach out to you or contact you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, my practice is called Shamanic Awakening, and you can visit my site at shamanic-awakening.com.
Okay, great. And you're completely based in Austin, or you do remote work as well?
Yeah, I do this energy medicine work of the Andean tradition. I'm here in Austin, but I also do remote sessions. So I can do it in person, or remotely, or work with people.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, it was great chatting to you about this, and yeah,
great, you too. And I just want to say I appreciate the work that you do, and the training that you've done in the plant medicine tradition, and so just want to acknowledge and honor you as well.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you very much. All right. Well, thank you very much, Anthony, and thank you everyone listening. Have a great day.